The discovery the frozen moon of Epsilon 7 hung like a dead pearl against the velvet darkness of space. Commander Thrix adjusted her environmental suit's heating system as she led her excavation, teeing deeper into the ancient structure they had discovered buried beneath 3 kilometers of ice. As a member of the Zelothy species, her serpentine form was particularly sensitive to cold, making this assignment especially challenging. Her scales, normally a vibrant blue-green, had dulled to almost gray in the harsh conditions. "Commander, you need to see this," called out Specialist Gorvak, his 4 arms working efficiently to clear debris from what appeared to be a massive door. The Ergen specialist's natural strength made him invaluable for such excavations, though. Even he seemed troubled by what he was uncovering. Thrix slithered over to examine the discovery. The door was unlike anything in their databases. It stood nearly 10 meters tall and was composed of an alloy that their scanners couldn't identify. Strange symbols were etched deep into its surface, arranged in concentric circles around what looked like a handprint scanner designed for a 5-fingered appendage. "Have you tried dating the structure?" Thrix asked, her forked tongue tasting the air nervously. "That's what disturbs me, Commander," Gorvak replied, consulting his equipment. "According to our readings, this structure predates the Galactic Confederation by at least 30,000 years. It's older than the oldest known spacefaring civilization." Dr. Melka, their xenarchaeologist, floated closer on her antigrav platform. The Void Dancer's gaseous form shimmered with excitement. "Look at these symbols," she said, her voice resonating through their communication devices. "They're not just decorative. They're warnings, repeated in multiple languages. Some I recognize as extinct dialects, but others are completely unknown." The team spent hours carefully documenting everything before attempting to open the door. When Gorvek finally managed to trigger the ancient mechanisms using a complex override sequence, the massive portal swung open with surprising ease, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Emergency lighting flickered to life, casting long shadows across. Rows of what appeared to be storage units and display cases. "By the void," Melka whispered as they entered. "This is a museum, or perhaps a memorial." The walls were covered with images and text, holographic projectors activating as they approached. The displays showed bipedal creatures, smaller than most. Galactic species, but built with a compact efficiency that suggested remarkable adaptability. They had forward-facing eyes, a predator's trait that immediately made Thrix's scales ripple with instinctive unease. "Humans," Gorvak read from one of the displays. "That's what they called themselves? But I've never heard of them. They're not in any historical records." As they explored deeper into the facility, they discovered something extraordinary. The humans hadn't just disappeared. They had deliberately erased themselves from galactic history. The displays told a story that made the team's various physiologies react with shock and awe. 35,000 years ago, humanity had emerged from their home system with technology that seemed primitive by galactic standards. Their ships were slow, their weapons basic, their bodies fragile compared to the established powers. The hegemony of that era, a collection of the 5 most powerful species, had dismissed them as barely worth notice. That was their first mistake. Humans learned at a rate that defied understanding. Within a single generation, they had reverse-engineered technologies that had taken other species millennia to develop. Within 3 generations, they had improved upon them. Their population doubled every few decades, spreading across marginal worlds that other species had deemed worthless, transforming them into thriving colonies through sheer determination and ingenuity. "Look at this," Melka called out, her gaseous form pulsing with colors that indicated deep disturbance. She was studying a tactical display showing a conflict from that ancient era. The Battle of Kepler's Gate, as it was labeled, showed a human fleet of 30 ships facing a hegemony armada of over 300. The humans were outnumbered 10-1, outgunned by every metric the display showed. They should have been annihilated in minutes. Instead, the battle lasted 18 hours. The humans used tactics that seemed insane, deliberately ramming enemy vessels, overloading their own reactors to create weapon effects, boarding enemy ships with soldiers who fought with a ferocity that traumatized even the warrior castes. The battle ended. The human fleet was destroyed, but they had taken 90 enemy vessels with them. More disturbing was what happened next. Within days, humans across the galaxy began implementing the lessons learned from that defeat. Within months, they had developed countermeasures to every hegemony weapon system used in the battle. They didn't just adapt, Thrix observed her, voice tight with a mixture of fear and admiration. They evolved in real time. The deeper they went into the facility, the more disturbing the revelations became. The humans hadn't just been warriors. They were engineers who could make functional technology from scrap, diplomats who could turn enemies into allies with disturbing frequency, and scientists who approached problems from angles that no other species had considered. They formed bonds with other species that transcended logic, adopting orphans from enemy races and raising them as their own, protecting allied worlds with a dedication that bordered on fanaticism. But it was their capacity for both creation and destruction that truly terrified the galaxy. They could terraform dead worlds and heal ecosystem collapse, but they also developed weapons that could crack planets and plagues that could erase entire species. They shared their medical knowledge freely, saving billions of lives, while simultaneously maintaining military capabilities that grew more terrifying with each passing year. The displays showed the growing panic among the hegemony. Secret meetings, desperate plans, and finally, the decision that changed everything. The galaxy united for the first time in history, not in peace, but in fear of a single species. Every major power contributed to a massive fleet with one purpose: to contain or destroy humanity. But the humans did something unexpected. Before the fleet could reach human space, they sent a message to every world, every station, every ship in the galaxy. The message was simple: we understand. We will leave. Do not follow. Within 5 years, every human had vanished. Their colonies were empty but intact, their technology left behind, but somehow incomplete, missing crucial components that would make reverse engineering impossible. Their ships had flown into the void between galaxies, disappearing into the darkness that no other species dared to traverse. But they didn't just leave, Korvac said, studying another display. They left these facilities, hundreds of them scattered across the galaxy. Each facility was a monument and a warning, telling the story of humanity's brief, explosive presence in the galaxy. But more than that, they were watchtowers. The humans had left behind automated systems that monitored the galaxy, watching for something. Watching for what? Thrix asked, though part of her already knew the answer. The final chamber of the facility provided that answer. It was a massive spherical room with a holographic display of the galaxy at its center. Red lights blinked at various points, marking locations of dormant human technology. But it was the display's edge that drew their attention. There, in the void between galaxies, thousands of green lights moved in formation. The timestamp showed this was real-time data. They never left, Nalka said, her gaseous form fluctuating rapidly with shock. They've been out there, watching, waiting. A console near the display activated as Thrix approached. A holographic figure materialized, a human in what appeared to be a military uniform. The figure was clearly a recording, but its eyes seemed to look directly at them. If you are seeing this message, then you have found one of our vigil stations, the human said, its voice carrying a weight of centuries. We are humanity, and we have been waiting. We left not because we feared you, but because we feared what we would become if we stayed. We were changing too fast, growing too powerful, becoming something that even we didn't recognize. The figure paused, as if considering its next words carefully. We chose exile to preserve both ourselves and you. In the void, we have had time to mature, to understand ourselves, to master not just technology, but wisdom. We have watched you grow, celebrated your triumphs, mourned your losses. We have been your silent guardians, deflecting threats from beyond, your borders that you never knew existed. The display changed, showing massive objects being destroyed in the void, things that looked organic but were the size of moons, creatures from between galaxies that fed on civilizations. But our vigil is ending, the human continued. We have detected something approaching from beyond the galactic edge, something that requires all of us to face together. The time of separation is over. We are coming home, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The question is, will you accept us? The message ended, leaving the team in stunned silence. Thrix was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. We need to report this immediately. As they prepared to leave the facility, Gorvuk noticed something on his scanner. Commander, I'm detecting a massive gravitational anomaly at the edge of the system. They rushed to their ship's bridge, and their sensors confirmed what the facility had already told them. A fleet was emerging from the void, ships of impossible design that bent space around them. The vessels were clearly human in origin, but had evolved far beyond anything in the facility's historical records. The lead ship transmitted a single message on all frequencies. Humanity requests permission to return home. We have much to discuss. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Confederation had not seen such chaos since the void plague 3 centuries ago. Representatives from 47 species filled the massive spherical chamber, their voices creating a cacophony of sounds that the universal translators struggled to process. At the center of the assembly, High Coordinator Vault stood on the speaking platform, her crystalline body refracting the light from 1,000 displays, showing the human fleet holding position at the galaxy's edge. Order. Vault's voice resonated through the chamber, her natural harmonics cutting through the noise. We will conduct this assembly with a dignity befitting this historic moment. The discovery on Epsilon 7 had been transmitted to every member world simultaneously, along with the detection of the human fleet. The ancient records had been unsealed, the truth about humanity's exile revealed for the first time in 35 millennia. The reaction had been immediate and polarizing. They are predators, shouted Representative Karn of the Herbivore Alliance, his 6 eyes wide with ancestral fear. Their own records show they consume other organisms for sustenance. How can we trust beings who fundamentally view other life as food? That argument is archaic, countered Ambassador Prex of the Warrior Caste Coalition, her chitinous armor clicking with agitation. Half the species in this assembly are omnivores or carnivores. The human's diet is irrelevant. What matters is their military capability. They claim to have spent 35,000 years advancing in isolation. They could conquer us all. Could, but haven't, noted the ancient scholar Yem, speaking for the first time in decades. The synthetic being's mechanical form had observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They announced their presence. They asked permission. Conquerors do not knock. High Coordinator Vault raised her appendages for silence. The human ambassador has requested to address this assembly. They offer to appear via hologram first, to prevent any misunderstandings about their intentions. The debate raged for hours before a vote was finally called. By the narrowest of margins, the assembly agreed to hear what the humans had to say. The hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, and a collective intake of breath echoed through the space. The human who appeared was female by their species standards, wearing a simple gray uniform with no visible weapons or armor. She was smaller than most species present, standing perhaps 2 meters tall. Her eyes were indeed forward-facing, marking her species' predator heritage, but they held something unexpected: warmth. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice calm and measured. "I am Admiral Sarah Chun, speaking for the United Human Collective. We thank you for allowing us this opportunity to address you." "You left warnings," Representative Karn interrupted, his fear making him bold. "Your own records call you dangerous. Why should we allow your return?" Admiral Chun nodded, seemingly expecting the question. "We are dangerous. We never denied this. But danger and evil are not the same thing. A star is dangerous, yet it gives life. A void predator is dangerous, yet it maintains ecological balance. We left because we were dangerous without wisdom, powerful without restraint. That has changed." She gestured, and displays showed the human fleet in detail. The ships were massive, far larger than anything the Confederation possessed, but their configuration was puzzling. They had weapons, certainly, but most of their bulk was dedicated to something else. "For 35 millennia, we have lived in the void between galaxies," Chun continued. "We've encountered things you cannot imagine. Living darkness that consumes entire solar systems, machine plagues from dead universes, entities of pure thought that drive species mad. We fought them all, not for glory or conquest, but because it was necessary." The displays changed, showing battles that defied comprehension. Human fleets engaging creatures that dwarfed planets, technologies that folded space and time, sacrifices that saved systems the Confederation never knew were threatened. "We became what we needed to become," Chun said, her voice carrying the weight of millennia, "guardians of the void. But now, something approaches that we cannot face alone." New images appeared, showing a massive something approaching the galaxy from intergalactic space. It wasn't a fleet or a creature, but something else entirely. It looked like reality itself was being rewritten, transformed into something that shouldn't exist. "We call it the entropy wave," Chun explained. "It's not. Alive, not dead, not anything that fits into our understanding of existence. It unmakes reality at the quantum level, converting matter, energy, even the laws of physics into a homogeneous nothing. We've been fighting its advance for 3,000 years. Buying time, but we're losing." Scholar Yem's optical sensors brightened. The theoretical papers published anonymously in our scientific journals. The breakthrough in quantum field manipulation. "That was you?" Chun smiled slightly. "We never truly left. We've been seeding knowledge, preparing you without revealing ourselves. But indirect help is no longer enough. The entropy wave will reach the galaxy's edge in 7 years. To stop it, we need to work together. And if we refuse?" Asked Ambassador Prex, her warrior instincts suspicious of this convenient threat. "Then we will fight alone, as we have been," Chun replied simply. "We will likely fail, and the galaxy will be unmade. But we will not force our presence on you. That would betray everything we've learned in our exile." High Coordinator Vault stepped forward. "You speak of lessons learned. What has humanity become in its isolation?" Chun was quiet for a moment, considering her words. "We became what we were always meant to be, bridge builders. In the void, we encountered other exiles, species that had fled their galaxies for various reasons. We united them. The human collective now includes 17 species, living in harmony on our void ships. We learned that our greatest strength was never our adaptability or our warrior spirit. It was our ability to look at the other and see. The us," she gestured again, and the hologram expanded to show multiple figures. Beings of various shapes and sizes stood beside humans, all wearing the same gray uniforms, all standing as equals. We offer not just our military might, but our perspective, Chun continued. You fear us because we are predators, but that same predator instinct makes us fiercely protective of those we consider pack. You fear our adaptability, but that same trait allows us to understand and work with any species. You fear our passion, but that same fire drives us to impossible acts of creation and sacrifice. The assembly was silent for a long moment. Finally, a small voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was Ambassador Trill of the Preservation Society, a minor faction of pacifist species. You say you've been watching us, Trill said, her delicate wings fluttering nervously. What have you seen? Chun's expression softened. We've seen beauty beyond description. We've seen the Xenophate turn dead worlds into garden paradises. We've seen the Urgans sacrifice themselves to save species that had been their enemies. We've seen the Void Dancers create art that transcends physical form. We've seen 47 species, despite their differences, build something greater than any could achieve alone. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried deep emotion. We've seen our successors surpass us in wisdom, in culture, in unity. The galaxy we left was fractured and fearful. The galaxy we return to is united and strong. You don't need us, but we hope you'll want us. The debate that followed lasted 3 days. Ancient fears warred with present necessities. Some species threatened to leave the Confederation if humans were allowed to return. Others argued that refusing help against an existential threat was the height of folly. During this time, the human fleet did something unexpected. They began broadcasting everything, their history in exile, their culture, their art, their daily lives aboard the void ships. The galaxy watched in fascination as humans and their allied species worked together, laughed together, created together. They saw human children playing with young of species that looked like nightmares, saw human soldiers training alongside beings of pure energy, saw human scientists working with entities that existed in 12 dimensions. The broadcasts showed something else too. The battles against the entropy wave, the sacrifices made, the worlds lost, the desperate struggle against an enemy that couldn't be negotiated with, couldn't be understood, only fought with everything. They had, on the 4th day, High Coordinator Vault called for the final vote. The resolution was simple. Accept humanity's return and their aid against the entropy wave, or face the threat alone. The vote wasn't close. Faced with annihilation, even ancestral fears seemed petty. Admiral Chun appeared again before the assembly, and this time she wasn't alone. Representatives of all 17 species in the human collective stood with her. A visual reminder that humanity's return meant more than just one species coming home. We accept your decision with gratitude, Chun said, and for the first time, she smiled fully, revealing the predator teeth that had haunted galactic nightmares for millennia. But somehow, in that moment, the smile wasn't frightening. It was warm, protective, fierce in its joy. We have much work to do, she continued. The entropy wave won't wait for us to overcome our differences. But I know that together we can face anything. Humanity requests permission to enter the galaxy. High Coordinator Vault's crystalline form resonated with the formal tones of acceptance. Permission granted. Welcome home, humanity. As the human fleet began its journey into the galaxy, monitors across 47 worlds showed the same image. Massive ships that had been weapons of war transforming, unfolding into structures of beauty and purpose. Cities in space, each one a bridge between the void and the galaxy, between the exiled and the established, between what was feared and what was necessary. The humans had returned, not as conquerors or saviors, but as what they had always truly been, catalysts for change, bridges between impossible things and fierce protectors. Of the pack, They had now claimed as their own the entire galaxy. In the years that followed, as the galaxy prepared for the entropy wave, they would learn what humanity had learned in the void. That strength wasn't about power or technology, or even adaptability. It was about standing together when standing. Alone would be easier, about protecting those who once feared you, about becoming more than what you were by accepting others as they are. The forgotten dangerous ancient race had returned, and they brought with them the one weapon the galaxy never expected. Hope born from unity, forged in the void, and tempered by 35 millennia of silent vigilance. Asterisk.